If you've been listening to the show for a while, you know that I'm a huge advocate of teachers using their existing knowledge, skills, and abilities to launch their side hustles. One way of doing that is packaging what you know into an online course. For example, I've been leading workshops about generative AI since ChatGPT first came out. I wrote a book on the subject. I've taught in-services with schools across the country and all the way to Sydney, Australia. But honestly, the area I've had the most reach was by launching an online course about it that now serves about 900 teachers in 75 countries around the world. Today's guest took his knowledge of the ACT exam, turned it into an online course, not only to become a thriving business that's helped him financially, but also it has served students all around the country as they get ready for one of the biggest tests that they'll take in their entire lives. Today we're talking with Kendal Shipley of 36 University. Let's get to it. This is After School Empire, the podcast that helps teachers like you make extra money by launching and growing their own income-generating side hustles. My name is Tony Neely. I'm a veteran teacher and a lifelong serial side hustler. Through one-on-one coaching and leading school-wide professional development workshops, I've helped many teachers launch their side hustles. And now, it's your turn. So grab a notebook and your favorite pen, because today is the day we start building your After School Empire. All right, folks, welcome to another episode of After School Empire, the podcast that helps teachers like you learn how to make extra money after school by launching and growing your own income-generating side hustles. As always, I am your host, Tony Neely. With me today is Mr. Kendal Shipley of 36 University. Kendal, thanks so much for being with us today.
I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
All right, so Kendal, tell us a little bit about your background in education.
I became a public school teacher in 2000 at a high school in Northwest Georgia, Ridgeland High School, and spent 11 years there. And then I moved to a neighboring county and did a couple more years. Then eventually quit my job 13 and a half years after becoming a public school teacher and started a business and tried to scratch and claw and fight for every dollar and all that and build a business. I did that full time. That was my only income for about 7 years. And now the business runs. I'm back in the public school classroom. Been back for about 4 years. And I still consult and help with the business. And then I've hired a replacement who really does day-to-day stuff, who's excellent. And then maybe bigger than that, I'm in education because I enjoy kids, and I feel like God's wired me to teach. And so that's what I do. And I like being on the public school calendar. My kids are in public schools, and I like being on the same schedule with them. So thankful for where I'm at. It's been quite a journey. I started almost 25 years ago now.
Yeah, I always say that going into education is a lot like going into full-time ministry, that if you aren't called to it, then stay away, because you'll do more damage from a pulpit if you're not called to be there than, sitting in the congregation. Same thing here. If you are not called to be leading a classroom and serving those students, then go somewhere else. It's okay to say that it's not for you.
Yes, and that really is foundational for me. I felt I became a Christian at 18 years old, and I felt like God turned my heart to become an educator. I was a physics astronomy major, and I was on scholarship at the University of Georgia, and I had a lot of things that I was excited about, but I felt like God turned my heart to become a teacher. And so 25 years later, here I am going, wow, this has been quite a journey.
So it's funny that you say that, because I remember being a senior in high school, sitting in Coach Butch Chaffin's U.S. government class at Cookeville High School up in Cookeville, Tennessee. And I was trying to decide between going to seminary to be a youth pastor, because I just loved serving kids, and
pretty cool.
I had a heart for ministry, and trying to decide between that and going to law school. I remember it hit me like a ton of bricks one day in Coach Chaffin's class. I was like, if I became a social studies teacher, it's kind of like the best of both of those worlds, because I can nerd out over politics and history and stuff all day, but also I'm in an environment where I get to love on and serve kids. And we were talking beforehand, you know the school that I work at, and I have the opportunity to just love on kids who, a lot of them, let's call a spade a spade. Their home lives are hell, and they need adults to just love on them. And so, yeah, I appreciate you sharing that about your story.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
So go ahead and just, if you wouldn't mind briefly introducing us to what is your side business?
Sure. I started along with a buddy of mine who also used to work at Ridgeland High School, 36 University ACT Prep. We started out with high impact education, and I guess a little bit of the business side. I think all successful businesses start with addressing a point of pain. In other words, there is a problem that needs to be solved. And so my buddy and I got together, and it really was more of a get rich quick scheme back in the day a little bit. It was sort of funny. I laugh at it now, 13 years later or whatever. But we thought, well, how can we make money? We're pretty good teachers. What should a side hustle be? And we thought, well, we know a decent amount about the ACT. Our scores were pretty good. But when I was at Ridgeland, I knew students didn't have $1,000 to throw at ACT prep or something like that. And so we thought, can we make this at least interesting enough for students to want to do it? And it can't be a boring textbook. And can we do it for a decent price? And so we sat down, started taking a bunch of tests, figuring out what's on the test. And we partnered with the YMCA, and they let us in there on Saturdays to teach a crash course for 2 hours and 20 minutes. And students paid us $50. And so those things packed out. I mean, just for fire marshal reasons, I think I had to limit it to 30. And sometimes I'd run back-to-back classes, Saturday morning. So it wasn't too uncommon to teach 40 kids, 50 kids, I guess, on a Saturday morning for $50 a kid. And the classes became really popular. And then eventually we said, this is cool. And my brother-in-law came to me and he said, but can you make this scalable? You can't be everywhere. You're sort of limited. And we go, well, I definitely don't want to just video myself on and put it online with me on a marker board. What can we do? Long story short, eventually we found some motion graphics videos. We ended up recording the stuff we'd been doing and put it into a cooler form, expanded it out, threw it online, and charged $15 a month. It's accessible. It's sort of engaging if ACT prep can be engaging, and let's give it a go. And that's sort of the quick of it.
So you make that transition. You go from basically your early adopters, your beta testing was those kids at the YMCA. And tell me about approaching the YMCA. Yes. Did you offer them a cut of the proceeds? Did you just tell them it's going to benefit the community? How'd you get your foot in the door to get them to offer that space up to you?
It was, they liked the space being used and felt like it was a service community. They didn't require a cut. I had a sister-in-law connection that was at one YMCA and said, hey, I think this is a good service for the community. Let's do it. And I'm not sure if she was my first open door there or not. I don't think she was, but I know she opened some more doors. But generally, they were happy to have us in early in the morning on a Saturday, as long as and they had space, and they thought it was a good opportunity for them to serve the community, and it was good for us. It was a win-win.
You said that it caught on really quickly. It became so popular that, obviously you were limited by the space that you had because of fire marshal codes and stuff. How were you getting butts in seats?
Sort of catchy logo together, and I mailed to every guidance counselor in the area saying $50 at the YMCA crash course, and just gave some bullet points. So I mailed out, I don't even remember how many flyers. It seems like I sent a stack of 20 or 30 to every guidance counselor in Chattanooga area, and they sort of passed them out, and it sort of grew pretty quickly. I mean, $50, and once word spread that we were doing good work, it took off pretty well then.
Got you. So you'd cut out there for a second. So just to make sure that I'm catching up with what you're saying, you said you hadn't really had any students of your own, but you had sent out mailers to guidance counselors at schools, and that's kind of how the information got out there. And so your early attendees were coming from those flyers you had sent out to guidance counselors.
Yes. And it's sort of bringing back memories. I mean, the fun part back then was my business partner and our phone would ding for $50 while we're in the classroom. We're like, oh, this is cool.
Those dopamine hits.
That's right.
The dopamine hits.
Bing, bing, bing. We had 3 registrations today. There's another $150. while we were at school. We thought that was a blast. So that was, I'd forgotten about that, but that was sort of cool. We're going, whoa, we're actually doing something here. It was neat.
Yeah, I had one of those the other day. Had mentioned to you that one of my side hustles is I build adoption profiles for adopting families, and I try to do it full on custom profiles, but I am undercutting my closest competition by like $300 because I want to make it really affordable.
Yeah.
And same thing, I was in class and my students were like, Neely, what are you excited about? I was like, that was just like a $200 ding that just went off on my phone.
That's cool.
So
yeah. Even today, like I don't pay attention to it nearly as much because it's not my day to day, even though I hear something about it every day. But even today, my phone will ding, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 times going, bing, maybe new customer signing up. And so if I paid attention to it even as much, it's still going today. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot better to get the dopamine hit of I'm getting paid versus dopamine hit of, new notification from Twitter. It's like, no, I prefer getting, knowing that my wallet just got a little heavier.
Absolutely.
So you have the conversation with your brother-in-law. He talks to you about scalability, and you decide the best course of action is going to be taking it online.
Yes.
Hey, folks, I really hope you're enjoying this episode. Thanks so much for listening. I want to take just one quick second and ask you a question. What would you do with an extra $800 in your pocket? Would you use it to pay down debt? Buy some new sporting equipment for your kids' upcoming season? Or would you splurge on those concert tickets for that band you just can't wait to see? Well, in July alone, I made $800 flipping shoes online. Flipping shoes is a fantastic side hustle for teachers to get into because it's an easy side hustle to start. It doesn't take a lot of capital, and with a little bit of training, you can start making money now. So if you're interested in getting your feet wet into the world of flipping shoes as a side hustle, go over to afterschoolemempire.com/shoes. There's some great information for you, and if you're interested, I also have an online course you can sign up for. If nothing else, be sure to get my free Get or Forget shoe guide. That's going to tell you, hey, here are shoes that are selling really well right now, and here's ones that are better left sitting at that yard sale or the thrift store. So again, just go to afterschoolemempire.com/shoes to find out more, and now back to the show. So tell us about how your courses are structured, and then we can kind of talk through the tech a little bit more on that. I know you said that you're using some like animations. Are you using like Toonly kind of animations or?
These are custom made motion graphics.
Okay.
You've probably seen commercials made out of them. There's music in the background. There's a voiceover. They're very visual. It lets me take a right triangle and pump it up. And so they see that triangle scale. I can do things. We can do things visually through a motion graphic that I would wish I could have done in the classroom type thing.
Yeah.
They're clean and sharp. I think there are about 70 of those videos, but I think one of the core strengths of our program is just how user friendly it is. We've kept it very simple. You pay us $15 a month. You will go in, you watch a video, fill out the note-taking guide with it if you want to do the note-taking guide, and follow the sets of quizzes from easy to ACT level ready, and just checks off as you go, and you move from topic to topic to topic. That's pretty much what's online.
And walk me through the process of your setting up a lesson in this system from recording through uploading. What does that process look like, and what's your tech stack look like for that flow?
Okay. Let me back up just slightly on that then. It starts with us taking every ACT we can put our hands on and just categorizing all those items and putting a frequency rating on them. But once we've targeted, okay, they're testing this and we have to put it on there. I'll write a script. And in there, in order to be efficient with the money, I'll note it needs to be animated this way. And so there's a voiceover and then the box with, this is how it needs to be animated. I'll turn it over to the animator. They'll come back with a set of storyboards and I'll go, and then we'll do some fixes. And that's probably 1 or 2 or 3 back and forth at this point. It's pretty quick. And we put out a 5-minute video, and then we develop question banks and throw it on a site. Our site is on WordPress. That's at the time. I don't think people really liked WordPress, but it allowed us so much capability with plugins and things that it got done what we needed to do. And most of that was probably because there was a learning management system that said, hey, you can put your stuff on here and we can work out a way for people to pay you.
Which LMS are you using with WordPress?
We have LearnDash. I was an early
LearnDash.
I was a very early adopter of LearnDash.
So you script it out, you turn it over to your animators give you a storyboard. Are you doing the voiceovers yourself? Are you hiring a third party to do the voiceovers?
We tried me, and I was way too Southern. It just came across like this accent that seemed like a barrier, and so no, we hire somebody to do the voiceover also. He has a British accent, and it seems a little more universal than I would be. So it's you get the video, they have the voiceover. That may be the backbone of who we are, really. Those videos turned out to be pretty clean. Those are all hosted on WordPress.
Gotcha. You're among the brave to still be using WordPress for hosting your courses because, one plugin decides it doesn't want to work, then everything comes crashing down.
Well, I'm glad you said that because I sort of keep up with it some. I've read a lot of good things about Wix, and I was so ignorant going in. I didn't know anything. I just needed a learning management system. LearnDash worked on WordPress, and that's how that all sort of fit together. If I need to figure out a way to do this without plugins, I don't know how to do that. In other words, that's another big chore to figure out. How do we get somebody to pay us through a different avenue?
Kendal, life has gotten so much easier since the days of LearnDash and WordPress.
Please tell me.
I'm about to make your life so nice.
Okay, please do.
So there are lots of different all-in-one systems now that specifically cater to online course creators.
Yes.
The most popular of which is called Kajabi.
Okay, yep.
Kajabi is an all-in-one that handles all of your video hosting. It handles all of your interactions. It handles all of your email system. It handles everything. You can build your funnels in it. You can handle all of your automation. You can even do, like, if you're doing any live, groupings or anything with your membership for like study groups, it handles all of that. I use a system called Modern, and Modern is basically a different company said, hey, let's clone Kajabi and put more options into it and then make it about a third the price a month that Kajabi is.
Yes.
And so you are looking at, so for the full Modern, which is what I use, the full version of Modern, it's $97 a month.
Yeah.
That's
cheap.
That includes all of your hosting.
For $97 a month?
For $97 a month. That's all of your hosting. That they will process all of your payments for you. So you can just use Stripe is normally what most people use with it. Yes. And Stripe takes your 3% or whatever transaction.
Yeah, sure.
The thing that I love is you can have infinite team members. So you said you have a partner. Both of you can be in there. You can fully automate. And the nice thing as well is if you're doing any kind of social media marketing, you can do all of your content creation through there, all of your content scheduling.
Yeah.
It has a super clean back end, and you never have to worry about plugins dying ever again.
Wow. So I'm paying between $500 and $600 a month at Liquid Web.
And that's just for your server hosting, right?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, no, this takes care of everything. And the other nice thing. Oh, go ahead.
My issue on concurrent users. So if I'm dealing with 1,000 people on there in the same span of 2 minutes, or a couple thousand or whatever, have you run into that issue?
So I haven't run it at that volume, but they can handle that volume. They can.
Okay.
Their servers are significant enough they can handle that volume no problem at $97 a month. When we finish this podcast episode, I will send you a link, and anybody else that's listening to the podcast episode, I'll post a link. If you're doing online courses, WordPress is lovely, but if you're not a programmer and your life kind of evolves around online courses, move to an all-in-one system that takes all of those headaches away.
Yes. Well, it's crazy how much HTML, CSS, me and my partner at this point, we're both educators, and we're not bad coders anymore, because you just had to learn it by necessity. But I love this solution. Yeah, please send me a link.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're in WordPress now. We're going to maybe look at getting you moving away from WordPress into an all-in-one, because if that can save you $500 a month just on your, servers, that's $500 more to you in your partner's pockets. Not to mention, it's just, life is so much easier once you move to one of these all-in-one systems. Like I said, the big dog that people normally go to is Kajabi. It's $279-ish a month. But like I said, when I started doing research and decided to go with Modern had way more functionality at $97 a month. So can you tell me a little bit about how you first transitioned over to getting paying customers onto your online course? Because obviously there's a huge difference between getting butts and seats for a face-to-face course versus, somebody who's never met you, doesn't know you from Adam, pulling out their credit card and paying you for a course. So how are you getting people to actually click buy on your course?
That's I didn't realize how tough that was going to be. I thought, there's a lot of trust that goes into a transaction. Somebody's going to pay you money. They have to believe that you're going to do what you said you're going to do. So I thought it would be as easy as let's mail to guidance counselors again. In a lot of ways, that is how this worked. We get some publicity in the newspaper. We'd send that out, and we tried it in Chattanooga area and grabbed 20 students. And you're going, okay, now let's try all the state of Tennessee. And we get another 30 or 40, whatever. And then we go, okay, let's send postcards to every guidance counselor in a state that requires an ACT. So we'll send 10,000 postcards, which postage used to be pretty cheap. Now it's a little, but still at that volume, we convert some, and we get good reviews. But basically postcards, social media, consistent social media. I forgot. The number of homeschool conventions I've been to. I've lived in hotels talking to so many parents, just and showing them the product. I guess I forgot about that. That was really a grassroots effort of, hey, I hit play and let them watch a video and let them try the quiz, and they go, oh, and they hand me $50 to use it. It was a lot of work, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. So I see on your website, when I go to it, in the top right corner, it says, try free. If I click on that,
Yes.
Is that putting me into some kind of automated funnel system, or is it just, here's a free course and I hope that you'll sign up after that? Does it send me to a webinar? What does that look like after I click to try the free lesson?
That's relatively new, but it should let you set up a username and password without even putting in a credit card number, and give you 3 days to you do full access to anything you want. And so it's, hey, let's show you what we have, and we think we can win your business. That's why that's there. It's a free access to every video, quiz, all of it we have online right there.
What made you decide to go with that model as opposed to doing something like a webinar, or here's the first course or introductory course? What made you decide to give them full access?
Basically, my business partner decides, she says, I think we should let people try it and see they like it. We both believe in the product. And I said, well, it sort of depends on the conversion rate from it. If 10 people are doing it, or 10 people sign up and we convert 1 out of 10, goodness, that's not working. But so far it seems to be working, but it's pretty new. If we have 10 people try it and 7 out of 10 are converting, we're going, oh, that's worth our time.
I mean, that's a fantastic conversion rate right there.
Yes. And I don't know, we've been doing that for about 3 months. So I'm about to circle back and go, hey, give me the conversion numbers. Is that 100 people and we've converted 45? Is that 20 people and we've converted 6? I don't know on that right now. That's pretty new.
Let's talk about your pricing. So you said, let's start with the individual. You said that it's $15 a month. Now, I know normally folks are taking the ACT, at least in our area, normally junior year of high school. They may only sign on for a couple months at that point. So you're looking at the possibility for a lot of turnover. Why did you decide to go with a reoccurring membership model as opposed to a flat rate, just buying access to the course for a single flat rate?
Well, great question. Pricing's so difficult. We started out at $50 a month and expected a bunch of churn. We went to Accelerator Business, a collab, a 48-hour launch in Chattanooga, and the guys say, why don't you charge $10 a month and be a Netflix model, and nobody will ever unsubscribe? And we thought, and they said, well, how many people would you have to get for $10 a month in order to quit your job? And I said, well, if we had 300 people, that's $3,000 minus some expenses, I could probably make it, And they said, I think you can do people at $10 a month. Why don't you give it a run? We still fight this battle slightly, but I really had a heart to be accessible. I felt like a lower price entry point says to anybody, if you want to cram this thing in 15 months for $15, which is our price now, and you want to cram it in a month, it's cost you $15. You got a lot of education for $15. Good for you. But eventually we had to run the number. What's a customer worth us? And an individual customer, which is, a small part of our business now, is about a 4-month customer, $60. That's about average for us. And so do you charge 50? Or do you take on average 60 and let people get out for cheaper if they want to crash course it, or stay longer if they want, that type of thing? And so that's where we're at, I think the real problem here, though, is this. I think there is something to this idea of a value on like if your course is $15, people sometimes don't think it's valuable.
Yes, I think people who pay attention is the old mantra of online courses.
Yes. Oh, that's good. Yeah. Thank you for saying that. That's new to me. I think that sometimes you can come in with just a super high price and people think you must be worth something and they just pay it. It's just not been who I chose to be as an entrepreneur. I really value accessibility. That's why we sell to schools, a bunch of schools, $600 unlimited accounts. That says if you want to use this, please do. $600 to a school and they can throw 1,000 kids on there. That's pretty cool. I'm proud of being accessible. I think it has been a hindrance occasionally because people think you can't be that good if you're that cheap.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I was listening to another podcast last week, and they had a gentleman on there from New Zealand who had started this online course and purely, altruistic, was just wanting to help people grow in their specific careers. Realized there was no real training for what he did to help people learn how to grow. So he made this 12-hour course completely free, plus was having monthly live Q&As and stuff. And he realized he had all these people signing up, but nobody was actually going through the content. Oh. So he started charging $1,000 a month to go through it. And suddenly he had... Yeah, he may have had 15, 20 people registering, but also that's 15, 20 people at $1,000 a month who were kicking down the door, excited to use the content and to engage with it. And so he realized, he was like, if I'm offering this for free, then it just kind of floats out into the ether. That's one of the problems with a lot of, music. If you can download the music for free, you save it, but you never actually listen to it, and it doesn't dwell your spirit in, as a human being, because I can just click on something else. And so he said for him and for his model was he realized by giving it away, he was actually doing people a disservice because they They truly thought just what you said. Well, if it's free, then, it might be okay. And he was like, no, this is world-class education. So I'm with you a lot. A lot of my side hustles, I'm trying to target demographics who aren't going after a higher ticket item, but also there is a place to say that, again, people who pay attention. And so some of that real life transformation of online courses is going to come if people are paying for it.
Yes. I think that's a dilemma we all, a real issue. Us entrepreneurs are going to have to ask over and over and over, what message do you want to send to your buyers with your price? And eventually, we're all you're trying to maximize profit and trying to figure out the best way to grow and to reach a number of people.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a clean answer there all the time.
Well, and when you're talking about replacing your salary, it's a lot easier to replace $1,000 if you're selling 10 courses at $100 each as opposed to 100 courses at $10 each.
No, I think that's good. I just, the initial thought of being less churn at a lower price, I think did end up ringing true a little bit on this.
So what made you decide? So that was the B2C. You decide $15 a month. We're targeting a 4-month, tenure with them before they leave. What made you decide on the price point of $600 for unlimited entry for schools? That seems like a random number, so I'm curious to know the thought behind it.
Well, I'd worked enough in schools to know that you could at a local level, $500 can just be okayed with a principal and a signature. It doesn't need board approval. There's no that's what a classroom could reasonably ask for textbooks or some type of curriculum. And that's where we wanted to go. There are a lot of classes that run ACT classes, and we wanted to be curriculum for that class. So $500 was, hey, we're not buying class textbooks, we're not buying the ACT books, we're buying this online program. And that's where we ended up. It was $500 at a time. Now we're $600 for unlimited. That's where that started.
Got you. So ease of access, essentially. You don't have to go through, the district approval or go through the school board to get approval for the funding. You were just looking at kind of capping out what the school level administrator could be approved to spend.
And what a class would normally spend on curriculum. As a classroom teacher, if I ask for textbooks for 30 kids, I'm looking at a good somewhere between $500 to $1,000. We wanted to be classroom curriculum and come in that somewhere in that window.
Yeah. So if you had to estimate, how many schools would you say 36 University is currently serving?
Oh, about 30 schools right now. I think have signed up in August maybe of this year, and I'm guessing most of them have signed up. We'll pick up some more in January. But I think we're at about 30 schools or so.
Gotcha. I mean, that's fantastic. So is that $600, is that an annual or is that a one-time?
I should say $600 is unlimited student access. Most of the time, a lot of times they'll pay us more than that. They'll pay for the data, reporting on the back end, and student usage reports and teacher accounts and things like that. So $600 is student accounts. A lot of times they're paying us $1,000 or so for all the extra stuff too.
Gotcha. But again, is that lifetime or is that annual?
Oh, I'm sorry. That's annual. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
gotcha. Yeah, no, those are great numbers. I was trying to make the math work in my head. I was like, man, that's a lot going on there for $600. Like I want to buy a copy of that for my own school if it means all my kids from here to eternity get access to it. But yeah, annual, that makes sense. And that's still a fantastic deal.
Thank you.
Absolutely fantastic deal. So you got to a point where you said, okay, we're generating enough income. I can step away from my job. And you said you worked on 36U full time for several years. What made you decide to step back into the classroom and make this less of a full-time pursuit and back to being in the side hustle realm?
This is great. Well, frankly, I was just crazy. That's why I left the job in the first place. I mean, I really couldn't replace my salary. I was going to start paying myself $1,000 a month and just scratch it out. And I did. And then I made a little bit more. But $1,000 a month isn't real pay, and neither is $1,500 a month, but the business was growing. But then COVID hit, and there was no ACT. It all became, you don't have to have an ACT thing to score. All that became optional, and they weren't going to put 30 kids in the classroom and take this test. And I'm going, things are going great, but then a pandemic cuts that out from underneath you. It gets a little scary, and you're going, I'm not making much, but I got to make something. And so maybe, just like me getting into education in the first place, maybe that's God's way of putting me back in the classroom some. I had hired a young lady, a Vanderbilt grad, who was exceptional. She wanted to work from home. We'd worked together for a while, and I knew she could take my place. She could do what I did. And I said, well, hey, is it okay if I go back in the classroom and you sort of run this day to day? And she's like, yeah, I'd love to do it. We worked that out. I went back in the classroom, and then sort of the pandemic gets through, and our business is bigger today than it's ever been, and I'm not even there, So it's really a great setup. I'm thankful for it.
That's fantastic. So what does your day-to-day look like now as far as running this business?
She'll shoot me a text or an email and say, hey, we got to send out 500 printed note-taking guides. You want me to order from so-and-so place for X dollars, or you want me you want to order from the other place for so-and-so amount? And so I'll say, I think we need to order from them, send them $4,000, and then I'll write the checks. Pay her, I'll pay me. A lot of the financial stuff's mine, and then decision-making on finances is still I'm still at least consulted on it, even though I don't feel like I need to be. She's that good. But that's mostly my role. And then I do some customer service stuff. I'm sort of good at that.
Gotcha. So it sounds like you're almost playing a CFO kind of role with some customer service built in.
Yes. Yeah. Good description. Yes, sir.
Okay, folks, that's going to wrap up this conversation that I had with Kendal Shipley from 36 University. Unfortunately, when Kendal was telling us where we could find him online, he lost service and it cut off his recording. So be sure that you go to www.36university.com. That's 36university.com. You can also pull up 36 University on Facebook and on Twitter. Go out there, check out their course, look at what he's doing. And remember, if you have some kind of knowledge that you can package up, you too can turn that into a fantastic side hustle opportunity for you. As always, thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time. For more resources and support, be sure to visit www.afterschoolempire.com and sign up for my mailing list. I promise not to spam you, and you'll be the first to know about new side hustle resources that are available from After School Empire. Until next time, remember, people want to give you money. You just have to find a reason for them to do so.